Hey you and welcome. My name it's Mike, and in this here video we're going to New York. And also Texas, because I mean, come on, of course we are. And I think by now you know that if it's in Texas, then oh boy, we got a wild one. As always, it involves a plan. A very silly and stupid one, classic, conjured up from the ether by... no spoilers, come on. Let's just say someone took a trip from one location to another, slipped up along the way in almost like comedic fashion. The reasons for doing this trip were ungood. I can't do any more of this tire kicking anymore, come on, I'm excited. How about you and we get into it? So will we, be a bit mad, you know, and, start with the old, who, what, why, where, when? In 2018, in the town of Sodus, beautiful upstate New York, lived Josh Niles and his girlfriend Amber Washburn. Josh was 28 years old, a native upstate New Yorker. Amber the same, 4 years his junior. Josh and Amber together had a son, Joshua Jr., and Josh himself had 2 children from a previous relationship, about a decade before. Josh Niles had previously been in a relationship with a woman named Charlene Childers. She too was an upstate New Yorker. Hey, I'm walking here. They don't sound like that up there, do they? I don't know, who cares, I'm doing it anyway. In the years Amber and Josh had dated, Amber became close with the 2 children. However, Charlene Childers moved to Sunray, Texas, in 2013. But Josh and Charlene's kids wouldn't stay with Charlene in Texas for long, because eventually, in 2018, Josh and Amber would get full custody. So, Josh and Amber would be there with their 3 children. See, Charlene lived with her husband, a guy named Tim Dean, police chief down in Sunray, Texas. Well, ex-police chief, womp womp. Because Tim Dean was charged with felony child abuse in May 2018, and that's when Charlene and Josh's 2 kids moved from Sunray, Texas to Sodus, New York. So that's kind of like the short and sweet version of events, more or less. That takes us up to October 2018. On the 22nd of October 2018, after 2 p.m, Josh was pulling into his driveway, and as he did, he seen somebody at the, the bench that was outside the house. So he got out of the car, started yapping away with him, having a grand old time. Now a next door neighbor, saw Josh get out of his car and start talking to this guy who seemed to be waiting for Josh on the bench outside his house. They seemed to be talking, they seemed to know each other. Josh, he was leaning up against his truck. They were shooting the shit. Then, just as Amber pulled into the driveway in her vehicle, the neighbor, who had looked away, heard gunshots ring out. Looking out the window, she saw Josh clutching his chest, having been shot. Then Amber reversing out of the driveway, the gunman turning, Josh falling to the ground and yelling out Amber's name, before the gunman shot her through the windshield as well. Shot her once in the head. As the neighbor ducked into her home, she heard more shots ring out, on that sunny autumn day. She called and the police arrived within minutes. Josh was found dead, lying next to his truck. Amber, her car having rolled down the driveway, coming to a rest in the neighbor's driveway across the street. She was lying over the center console in her car. Her 4-year-old son, Joshua Jr., still in the back seat holding chicken nuggets from McDonald's. He was unharmed. The neighbors gathering around immediately began to tell the police they'd seen this guy who was waiting for Josh. He was wearing dark, he had a green hat on. They'd seen him shooting and then doing a legger. He was running through, the back gardens of this neighborhood, and police backup would soon arrive.
You didn't see anybody run through here at all?
The nearby school was shut down, and police started going door to door looking for whoever did this.
What's up, it's K9. If anybody's inside, speak out now, you will get bit.
With dogs and choppers, it was a full-on manhunt.
I saw the person shooting the guy underneath the truck. The person was stabbing the gun at him, and I could see his body jerk. And in turn, shot the girl in the car. Boom, boom, boom. And next thing I know, the car come rolling out and then took off running. I think they knew the person.
And now to follow our breaking news out of Wayne County this evening, a shelter has been issued in the community of Sodus.
The deputies with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office and state police are currently searching for the perpetrator still at this point. That is why the Sodus school has been placed on lockdown.
We also know the suspect still at large as neighbors are being told to shelter in place.
Across Sodus tonight, cars like this, Wayne County Sheriff's deputies as well as state police are parked across the village as this all-out search just gets underway, and they're planning to stay here all night.
We're going to keep at it until we run out of options.
The search went on for hours, but was ultimately unsuccessful when the dogs led to a car park, and the scent came to an end. However, one thing the police did find was a discarded Under Armour ski mask, found by the dogs. Seemed pretty clear that this had been used by the killer, and some neighborhood surveillance caught the guy. Now this was from before the shooting, and it seemed like they had been surveilling the area, but they had a hood up so it was hard to see who it was. Police then, began informing families, contacted Charlene, to let her know that the father of her children and the guardian had been murdered. She was all the way down in Texas, but by the time the police contacted her, she knew what had happened. She had seen on Facebook, on a news report, the address of where shootings had took place in Sodus. Her kids were fine, they were in school at the time, and Charlene immediately started driving to New York. So, who would want a young couple dead? 28 years old, 24 years old, with 3 children to take care of. Amber was a baker, Josh was starting up a lawn care business, and he was thinking of popping the question to Amber. It seemed that from the number of shell casings, Josh was shot 10 times, and the fact that a neighbor had seen Josh talking to the guy, that it had been a personal attack. Speaking to the family, well, nothing. They were a nice couple, no enemies, no nada. Then the police spoke to Charlene Childers, who had another version of Josh, to tell the police. One who was physically abusive to her, one who loved drugs, and she had police records to back her stories up, her multiple stories of how he was, bit of a piece of shit to her. They would have, kids together, they would have 2 kids together, but eventually she wouldn't be able to hack it anymore. And we move on down to Texas. Though Josh's family would say there's 2 sides to that story, and Charlene could give as good as she got, and they were very relieved when she got out of New York. But still, an investigation needed doing. Am I right? Because of the relationship between Josh and Charlene, the police were interested in her. But she was confirmed to be in Texas at the time of the murders, and had arrived in New York to be with her children and mourn Josh.
The most I have to say to y'all is justice needs to be served. My kids need that closure. Whoever did it has now made it to where my kids grow up without a dad. And that's nothing a kid should ever have to do.
So, what did the police know about Charlene? Well, down in Texas, she was in a relationship with our child-abusing piece of shit former chief of police, Tim Dean. Charlene and Tim met each other while working in the Dumas Police Department. Tim was a sergeant, Charlene worked with animal control, and it's named aptly, Dumas, because Tim was a dumbass. Tim would eventually become the Sunray Chief of Police. Now, it sounds better than it was. He was Chief of Police to 2 other officers, so yeah, big whoop. Anyways, Tim and Charlene got married in March 2018, and her Instagram showed what a great life they had. If you believe what people post on Instagram, of course. See, the story of Tim getting charged with child abuse goes a little something like this. Tim had a child from a previous relationship, a child who lived with Tim and Charlene. Her name was Madison. She was 3 years old. And in May 2018, Madison wouldn't eat her food. So Tim started shouting at her in her face and smacked her. This was filmed by Charlene. Charlene shared the video with some friends on Facebook, where it eventually made its way to Madison's mother, who got the police involved. Tim was arrested and charged with a felony, third-degree injury to a child. 5 days later, he got a letter asking for his resignation, signed by both the mayor and the city manager. So Tim Dean eventually got a job being a driver for Frito-Lay, and word began to spread that he was looking for vengeance against those who had, fired him. So that's what led to Josh and Amber getting custody of the two kids, months, just a few short months before they were both murdered. Madison went back to her mother, and Madison also revealed over time that, she had been abused by Charlene and Tim on numerous occasions. Now, before you think, Charlene filming Tim smacking a 3-year-old baby, before you think that Charlene was doing that to expose her husband, filming what a piece of shit he was, not at all. Sorry to correct you. No, she filmed that to show her friends what a horrible little girl this 3-year-old was, and how she should never have married Tim because of that baby. In August, before the murders in October, Charlene came up to New York, went to court to fight for custody of the two kids she had with Josh. The judge ruled that no, Charlene, you're not getting them while you're married to Tim, a child abuser. She told the judge she would divorce Tim if she could get the kids back. The judge says, for now, the two kids are staying with Josh and Amber. So, the investigation quickly switched from upstate New York to Texas, as Charlene and former police chief Tim Dean were going under the microscope. After all, Tim had lost his job, his kid, and Charlene had lost hers. And now it seemed like they might be getting divorced, losing the house too, and the lovely life was down the toilet. Tim was, a guy with nothing to lose, and maybe a reason to go to New York and do something drastic. Maybe the reason Tim Dean, disgraced former chief of police, might go to New York to kill the father of Charlene's kids. The kids would go back to Charlene, and, their life would be back on track. She wouldn't divorce him now. It's a theory. So, the police got a warrant for Tim Dean's phone records, and they showed that 2 days before the killings, interestingly enough, he had been about 400 miles away from Sunray in Emporia, Kansas, and had placed a 911 call. It seemed that Tim had been in some form of traffic accident after he tried to do a U-turn in the middle of the road and ran off it.
What happened? Well, I'm trying to turn around. Okay, got your license and paperwork for this thing?
It's going to be fine. It's a van rental car.
Mm-hmm. Got your rental agreement?
Yeah.
You want to jump in here with me real quick? Jump in the front passenger seat. And you tried to turn around?
I tried to turn around right here, and it...
So you just made a big flip around?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really do that around here. As you see why.
Yeah.
Who's Bowler Brown?
He's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, that's going to cause you more problems than anything.
I know.
So he rented the car for you?
Yeah, because I was stuck at work. I wasn't going to make it in time. I'm not looking forward to that phone call.
That'll bite him in the ass pretty big.
Honestly, man, I was just driving. My whole life has kind of gone lately. More or less living out of my car.
But you had money to get a rental?
Yeah, I still work. Just off this weekend.
You didn't want to take your car?
My car, the starter's acting up on it.
Oh, so you're just driving around Kansas from Texas, huh?
Yeah.
So where's your wife?
She's at home.
Thought you said you didn't have a home.
Well, we have a pending divorce and all that fun stuff. Yeah, that's mine.
Pending divorce, huh? Is that why you're out driving around instead of at home?
Yes, sir.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, like I said, it's all gone.
He had a grand old conversation with the cop who showed up while waiting to be towed. And of course, Tim Dean was full of SHITE. Tim Dean, hero cop.
I work for Frito-Lay now. Used to be a cop.
Where were you a cop at?
Dumas first and then Sunray.
Why'd you quit copping?
Well, I pissed off the DA and
that can happen.
I was tackling some pretty big public corruption cases. Ended up with a target on my back and got arrested by the Texas Rangers on a charge.
If you would stay here, I gotta take some pictures of the vehicle and stuff, especially since it's insurance. They're gonna want more pictures than normal. Is there anything in there I need to know about?
Nah.
Okay.
I've got a shotgun in there, but nothing illegal.
No drugs or
No.
stolen guns or anything, right?
No.
Okay, well, hang tight here. I'll be right back. Keep an eye on him. He's got a firearm on him. He's got concealed carry. Getting a divorce from Texas, just out driving around.
From Texas?
Yeah.
What the hell's he doing here?
Well, I thought I'm going to start looking around the vehicle a little bit.
So, the encounter was weird to the police. It weirded out the responding deputy. But he forgot about it until a few days later, when he was contacted by the FBI, and they were asking what he was up to in Emporia. That was when the investigation into what Tim Dean was doing in Kansas 2 days before people were murdered began. The deputy then, suddenly being a little bit more interested in this character, went to speak with a mechanic, who towed Tim's car from where it went off the road. The car had some interesting stuff in it.
The tote, when I opened it up, it was magazines with ammo and a...
Big magazines or little magazines?
Big ones. A AR style, like miniature rifle. That's when I saw the shotgun under the tote, grabbed the shotgun, and I saw a sport vest. I wouldn't say it was like bulletproof by any means, but it was a sport shooting vest. And,
with pouches or something?
I don't remember if there was pouches, but it was all black. I'm glad you guys are following up on this, because I even told him I had weird vibes about all this.
They also had a video of him picking up from his rental car body armor and a shotgun. See, what they were trying to do was figure out why was Tim Dean in Kansas, who would, become pretty important suspect at this point. They were trying to formulate a timeline as to, how, if, and when Tim Dean got from there, all the way to upstate New York. So, 2 days before the murders, he's in Kansas, just driving, pottering about, yourself, as he would say to the responding officer, when he totaled his rental car. Then he picked up parts of an arsenal he left in the car, got an Uber, went to a Motel 6, and this deputy, working on a hunch, trying to figure out what Tim Dean, where he had been, he went to another rental car place. If he rented one car, would he try and rent another?
He walked in, and then I told him that he couldn't rent because he just had cash on him. And he was really upset about that, and he just left.
Well, he tried to. But then, reviewing the body cam footage, he straight up said he was going to New York. So, there.
So where are you gonna go?
Well, I've got a family friend that I was gonna go see, but
422.
Where's that at?
That's all the way up in New York.
He then, somehow, picked up another rental car and was seen driving towards Sodus in New York. Tim Dean was soon taken into custody, and the questions about Amber and Josh began.
Had you ever met him in person?
I'd been there when he'd come to get the kids.
How did she react when he was in custody?
Obviously not well.
Like anybody else? Yeah.
I mean, she's never not had the kids.
She blame you?
Probably.
Do you think he'd get her kids, help he'd get her back?
I know there's no getting her back. There hasn't been.
I mean, in your mind, is that a possibility? You thought maybe this would help get her back in your depressed state and stuff? I mean,
it's done. It's been done. There's no getting her back. I've accepted that. That's why I've been in a state of mind.
Is it true you hated Josh?
I never even met the man. I'd been there when he'd come to get the kids.
And the reason he told the police he went to New York in the first place...
I was originally gonna go see her uncle. see if I could talk to him and get him to talk some sense into her and maybe get her to ride this thing out with me. I left home with the intention of going somewhere far away and put a in my head so nobody that knows me would have to be the one to find me and work it.
Okay. What changed?
But I turned my phone off so nobody could call me and figure out what I was doing and try and talk me out. If you think I'm gonna sit here and say that I did that, you're crazy.
I think you're crazy if you don't, quite honestly.
Tim, it's not a question if you did it.
It's a question of why, and are you sorry? You think these 5 different detectives from New York drove down here for no reason?
I had no idea why the FBI is here.
What happens when you drive to commit a crime?
I didn't drive to commit a crime. The suicide is on the FBI's radar.
Are you sorry Amber and Josh got killed? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Are you sorry they got killed? I'm not saying you killed them. Are you sorry they got killed? Can you say their names?
Josh and Amber.
Say, I'm sorry Josh and Amber got killed. Not that you did it. No, you didn't. You're saying it in parts. I've never been in the presence of a bigger coward.
In the end, though, no admittance, nothing forthcoming was coming from Tim Dean, and they let him go. But they had another person to speak with.
Who's Bowler Brown?
He's a buddy of mine.
Yeah, that's gonna cause you more problems than anything.
I know.
So he rented the car for you?
Yeah, because I was stuck at work. I wasn't gonna make it in time. I'm not looking forward to that phone call.
That'll bite him in the ass pretty big.
Ron Bowler was a friend of Tim's in Sunray, Texas, and he also worked for the Sunray Police Department, Tim Dean's old stomping ground. His name was on Tim's rental agreement, and he too was on the investigation's radar pretty quick.
Question what he's doing up in Kansas?
At first, no, because I thought you just had to go up there for Frito-Lay. I was like, okay. I took it at face value. And I was like, okay, hey, are you okay? That's the main thing. He goes, yeah, I'm good. But the car's pretty effed up, excuse my language. And I was like, okay, we got insurance, we'll get it fixed.
Dean never mentioned that he was going to go on a road trip, he was going to go to New York, he was going to go anywhere. He was just going to use that car, a rental car, locally.
Yes, sir.
So if I were to ask you, are you lying about knowing that Dean was taking that rental car to New York? What would you say?
I'd say no.
Okay. That's the truth, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He readily admitted, he had rented the car for Tim, but he had no idea, of course, what Tim was actually gonna do with the car. He was just helping a buddy out. I mean, that's what he said until he took a polygraph and failed.
Ron has a decision to make, whether he wants to be a good witness or he wants to be charged in conspiracy to commit 2 murders.
You definitely don't want that.
Braun then told the police about the murder plot. It had been planned in Tim's house. Braun would be the name on the rental agreement so that nothing would link Tim to this little plot while he was driving to New York. Though, of course, that was until Tim, like a feckin' Egypt, drove off the road. But, of course, Braun, he was just helping Tim out out of pure friendship, How sweet. They'll be great together when they share a cell. A cell that would get pretty crowded, funnily enough, as they would be joined by Charlene Childers. See, she had already raised eyebrows when she said she knew about the murders as she'd seen them online. Josh's address in the news that very day. But that wasn't the case. The street that the shootings had occurred on was publicized, the house number wasn't, and so that from the very get-go smelled funky to the police. She was brought in. It turned out that after Tim tried to rent a car in Emporia,
he walked in, and then I told him that he couldn't rent because he just had cash on him, and he was really upset about that, and he just left.
She drove all the way to Kansas from Sunray, Texas, to pay for another rental with her credit card. as they wouldn't take cash, and hence how Tim Dean got from Kansas to New York. And Charlene Childers, sweating it out in the old seat after a bit of grilling, her goose was cooked. It turned out that back in August, during the drive back to Texas from New York, after that child custody hearing, the one where she said she divorced Tim to get her kids back, well, Tim was the one who drove her back down to Texas. And it was during that long-ass drive that Charlene suggested something drastic, to which Tim agreed. Charlene was the mastermind of the plot, and she told Tim, "Kill Josh, get the kids back, and life will be back to the way it used to be. An Instagrammable life." In the garage of Tim's home, they plotted, and Braun helped them out as a good friend would. The car would be rented in his name, so Tim would be in the clear. And well, that went to shit in Kansas, but Charlene to the rescue, and the mission went ahead anyway. Tim turned off his phone in Illinois, and that was it. Amber, she wasn't supposed to be killed as part of this plot. Literally, wrong place, wrong time. 2 weeks after the killing, Charlene and Tim were charged.
I don't know that if you lose a loved one, if whatever justice comes about, that will ever be enough to replace a loved one.
Dean is still being held in Texas pending extradition to New York State. Childers is being held at the Wayne County Jail.
When it came to trial, a deal was cut with Charlene, the ringleader, to help in the case against Tim Dean. A case that was already strong. His DNA was found on that ski mask. Charlene cooperated, and in the end, Tim Dean was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Life in prison, no parole.
The man who killed 2 people in Wayne County last year will spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge told Timothy Dean he will die there. News 8's Stephanie Golden is live at the courthouse in Lyons. Stephanie, what was the reaction in the courtroom to this?
Well, Leah, Dean did not move as the victim's family members called him a monster and a coward. Before sentencing, Wayne County Assistant Attorney Christine Callanan told the judge that Dean should never get out of prison. He didn't deserve to be a part of society. The former Texas police chief was found guilty for the double homicide in Sodus. Dean didn't talk to family members or address the court.
Mr. Dean, you are certainly a classic psychopath. You've never shown one bit of emotion in this courtroom, not once of guilt or remorse. I really wonder what goes on in your head. If you have any sense of a conscience, you have to be haunted by what you've done. I hope every day for the rest of your sentence, for the rest of your life, that you wake up and feel the pain, anguish, and grief that the Amber, the Washrooms, and the Niles family feels.
Ron Bowler got 1 to 2 years for a conspiracy.
I just want to say, Ms. Childers, I've had a lot of murder trials, and every murder is senseless and tragic, but it has to be the most senseless and tragic murder I've ever handled.
Charlene got 28 years. Her earliest release date is 2042. What a scale, lads! All over the place, tracking them. Throughout multiple states. It's crazy. Charlene for sure was a master manipulator and liar. Tim Dean seems like just a bollocks. And Braun was just an idiot. And a very tragic end for 2 young parents. This story is definitely up there in the, crazy plan tier done by pieces of shit. That was basically just undone by Tim Dean trying to do a sweet Yui in the middle of the road and then, just being a complete idiot. But they were eventually caught, only after, I guess, the damage had been done. Quite a plan. But yeah, not ungood. So yeah, great, big whoop. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you, as always, real soon in the next one. Alright, take care of yourselves. Mike out.